Okay, so let's start our webinar. Okay, today's agenda. First of all, let me introduce our company and myself. Also, today's topic is mainly focused on the financial literacy, and maybe it takes 20 minutes to, between this. Then after that, we shifted to Q&A sessions. And so if you have any queries, and also we preparing the basic Q&A sessions, then we can answer any questions. And finally, we can show small testimony video. Let's start. Okay, so as for the Informatica, so our ultimate goal is financial inclusion, and we especially targeting the small business owner in Malaysia. So we try to enable individual with the dreams and especially for business to fulfill their dreams through the financial solutions. Especially we targeting the individual who doesn't have a good credit score in basic, and we invented a new solution to try to access more easily to the finance. So this is my brief introduction. So this is Fumiko. I started my business in 2019 in Malaysia. So before that, after graduation of university, I worked in financial industry for 11 years in Japan, starting from Bank of Japan, A.T. Kearney, and Rakuten Tradings. Then after that, I migrated to Bangladesh and after higher study, shifted to Bangladesh and to join the BRAC and Grameen to learn the Grameen method of microfinance. As you know, the Dr. Yunus, I'm not sure. He's very famous Nobel laureate, got Nobel Peace Awards of this Grameen model, and to this offering the small amount of loan to especially women in the rural area, and this is applying the business model and to return back the money, then they can use these funds and eternally to the next person. So it's not a donation, it is a business. So I really touched with this model. Then I also apply in the digital way I met the co-founder of Manju. Then, so we decided to found this Informatica, and using digital solution into the microfinance philosophy. Then we started this microfinance in Malaysia. So addressing the challenge of the individual, especially for small business owner who cannot access the finance, especially in an early stage, then we know, and there are a lot of differences of the banks and us, but so we know, and all the small business owner face challenges as for finance. So our target basically here in Malaysia, the small business, and we want to expansion of the target more, sometimes individuals, especially for women or single mothers. So that's our next step as a goal. So today's agenda, main agenda, is financial literacy, as we thought this is most important especially for borrowers before borrowing money from lender, or protecting yourself or making better plans. Financial literacy is the key factors. So first of all, as for business, so many elements, the basic elements, especially 3 elements we recognize. And so the ideas, of course, when you start, what is the domain of your business, and it's most important, maybe coming from your experience or your passions, and you find it your domain. And second, the people, maybe the teams, and if you can start your own self, but also maybe it's better to you have a teams to help in your business. And maybe the third one is money, the working capital. And especially in the initial stage, you need to create in a basic product or basic service and renting the space and purchasing the ingredients. So all we need the money. So we knows the working capital means the finance is most important and really hard to acquire at the beginning. And so access this finance, and so the crucial thing is you should have some basic financial literacy. And I know even in Japan also, we didn't learn financial literacy in the school, and maybe the public side is a little bit lag behind of this kind of financial literacy things. And but we think this is very important, and especially when you are an entrepreneur and you need to talk to the banks or lenders, and so you need to be logical. You need to have calculation preparation as a plan. So it would be great. So as for financial literacy, the coverage, the topic is wide. So including the cash flow management, also the records of your transactions records, or tax issues, or credit scoring issues, and also you should have a 5 years production plan, etc. So all those required. But today we just starting from as a start initial step. So I can just tell you the very, very, very basic points at the beginning. So the first point is there are 3 points today as for the financial literacy. Then the first points I really focus on what's the differences between the banks and money lenders. Most of the people don't know, and because it's not so clear enough. So there are several points. First of all, they both are the license, but depends on rely on the different license. So banks under the authority of the Bank Negara is a central banks, so they have a banking license. And as money lenders, as under the KPKT, this is Housing and Local Government Ministry of Malaysia. So, so we have also the money lending license. And actually, what's the difference is banks also can lend the money, also accepting the deposit from the individuals or borrowers. But as for money lenders, we don't have any deposit, but we only can lend in money. So that's a big differences as a functions. But both are CITO secrets affected. I mean, especially for banks, they must to check the CITOs and secrets. But as for lenders, it depends on lenders. So for us, we are not particularly focused on the CITOs and secrets, but we grant that as a referral, but it's not strongly focused on CITOs secrets. And as look at here, then as money lenders, as we are more request the light than banks, means the banks require more and more the documentation, especially for audit report or tax payment. And also not only this document, also 3 years experience, business experience to be profitable, also collateral and guarantor. Those things banks are strictly required. But as for money lenders, we don't have that kind of rules. So it depends on money lenders, but majority of money lenders doesn't have that less document, also less requirement. So we can widely to targeting more, how can I say, the small people, small individuals, sometimes including the poor or agriculturals, also small business owners. And so because we have that, we doesn't have under the bank Negara statements, and so we have a more flexibility. So that's why we can target in a more wide range. So now our role, as we recognize a Informatica as a money lender, then we how can I say, we help the small business owners to access the finance more, and with minimum documentation and minimum requirement. And so that's the concept, and to opening the opportunities and to access the finance. Okay, so the second topic is why we need to provide the finance, or business owners need the finance. That's the very basic question, but it's quite important. So we recognize why the finance needs is, the answer is fulfill the gap. What's the gap? Is the timing of the income and expenses. So all the business have a different timing of income and expenditure. As maybe the Miss Liu, of course, you run the business and you feel that this kind of gap. And so especially the expenditure is first, because as a merchant, you need to prepare your product or service first before selling, of course. So basically, average the gap is 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 months. So it depends on business. So small business require a small gap, but some business require the big gap, and such as agricultures or the big business. So for example, the garment business of my friends, and so she prepared the garments 2-3 months ago, before the festivals. And then so she ordered the fabric, also the machines from overseas, and then start sewing or creating the design, and depends on festival, and then to hire some part-time jobs, and to start sewing and creating the product. So she needs some expenditure. It means in the investment. So she needs money. So she comes to our office and to take some loans, then prepare the next festival's product. Then after that, she joined the events, then she started to sell. So there's some gap in 2 to 3 months. So we are the organizer, how can I say, the fund provider to functions to fulfill this gap and to provide the money first, investment money first, then to collect back this money after she's selling this product. So our functions fulfill the gap, but we need to be very careful. And for the gap, so the gap shouldn't be big, too big, and so we need some calculation method how to calculate this gap amount. So the third point is so how to calculate how much money you need to borrow it, and also roughly we have some calculation method, and also the solution, the way of how to prepare this calculation. We suggest these 3 things, and today, first of all, it will be better as your merchant. It will be better to keep records and of your expenditure and income. So I hope everybody have some the basic bookkeeping, starting from the Excel first. There are so many softwares, also the product in the market, but it's not necessary to spend the money. So I just suggesting using Excel in your PC, then just start bookkeeping. So day by day, and for monthly, and then finally to become a yearly, because it's just a kind of the accumulating process. So just income, expenditure, so simple, or sometimes you can explore this expenditure, depends on category. There are some basic category, like 10 category, depends on the nature of the expenditure. So it will be great. End of the month. So you can categorize of this expenditure, depends on category. Then you can figure out what kind of expenditure and roughly you can spend in every month. So then if you have a record in more than 6 months, then you can compare, you can know the average your expenditure depends on category and what is your average income you should earn to cover this expenditure. So this is the how to create in your plan, a business plan. Then 1 year plan become 5 years plan. So if you need the money for banks, definitely you need the 3 years, 5 years projection. But suddenly you cannot make suddenly 5 years projection. So I just recommended all the business owners to just start keeping the record from today. Then day by day become monthly, then become yearly. That's the way to how to creating the record and then plan. So second point is, so how much money you can borrow? We have global consensus. So the answer is the expenditure and borrowing shouldn't be exceeded from your income in a yearly. So here, generally, you can borrow money up to 1/3, roughly 30% of your annual income in. So that is for sure. In every country, the government should have set this kind of regulations to asking the money lenders. So in Japan also, we have following these government rules. The consumer loan company or money lender like us shouldn't exceed the amount of money more than 1/3 of the consumer's income. So I think I heard here in Malaysia also saying actually, unfortunately, the KPKT doesn't have this rule though, but we just roughly to following this rough calculation, global calculations. And so when we accepting the loan, that we always check the amount of loan to compare with the borrower's income, and then to shouldn't be exceeded of the rough calculation. And third one is reserve. Creating your reserve means stock of your asset. That is save your emergency time. So is any stock? There's a variety of stocks. Sometimes stock of your inventory, or sometimes how the premises like land or buildings, or sometimes money, financial savings in a separate account. It's not a business account. Or sometimes the emergency asset from your guarantor, kind of guarantor, like your family, relatives, or friends, they can be protecting. So it's quite the asset of yours to having the very important families, important people for you. It is like the protection of yourself in an emergency time. So we in the Informatica, we didn't require the guarantor, but in near future we will preparing some product with the guarantor. So there have some choice and with the guarantor with lower interest rates. But current option is we don't require any guarantor. So it's quite convenient for the borrowers. But we expected in emergency time for borrowers, and maybe you should use your reserve to the payback of our loans. So that's all from my side and for the financial literacy part today. And let's go forward for the Q&A sessions. Or until this topic, and if you have any questions about today's issues, of course, we are welcome. And so let's go forward. Hi, is there any questions? If you any just a confirmation of the content or any opinions, or if you have. please let me know.
Viewers, please feel free, anyone, to ask on your business whether you want to know any questions. We are open to all questions. Miss Fumiko will answer, and I also will assist you guys. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Nurin.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question.
Mhm.
How can I keep track on my expenses and also income throughout my business?
Oh, okay. I want to go back my. Okay.
Yeah.
I using when doing. Oh, depends on your business size. The easy way, you just purchase the software account. But it takes money. It takes cost. So just for at the beginning, just bookkeeping, Hassan, using just Excel. Just keep in the Excel and the in and out, and then you just record. For example, today, 17th of May, then the items. So what you expenditure, for example, the post mail, for example, or internet cost, for example, then how much? Maybe 80, 80 ringgit, for example. Then this is expenditure today. So next day, another things, rent, for example, then 2000 something. Then accumulating, it's like a diary. And so every day you just bookkeeping. But the end of the month, so you need to categorize of this all the expenditure. Maybe you have, for example, 20 expenditure or maybe 30 expenditure to this month. So you just categorize the basic one for 5 to 10 category. Depends on the company or depends on your business nature. For example, is we are the expenditure for human resources, expenditure for the office premises means like rent or expenditure for the service. For example, in our office, we have a service for money lending service and to the in and out for depends on the how assessment process and requires some cost. So depends on the service nature of cost. So the category it depends on your business. Then categorize for starting from 5 and sometimes multiple that require 10 different category. Then every month you can keep this record with the category. Then gradually you can figure out what kind of expenditure you have in this 5 category. After 6 months, you will figure out they have a comparison. So during from May to October, so what kind of expenditure you have in each category, right? Then so the after 5 months or 6 months, and you can find the category chart. Then each category, you can have the flow, the expenditure flow, the same as income as well. But income usually is more simple than expenditure because your nature is so simple. In our case, our income is basically interest income or commission income. It's very simple, only 2 incomes. So then also accumulating in the end of the months. So this month we have income of this amount. Then also accumulate in 5 months or 6 months. Then you can figure out also you can have average income in monthly or average expenditure in monthly. Then you figure out what kind of business you do and what is your income, what is your expenditure. Then you figure out yourself, your business. So, but without bookkeeping, you don't know because you don't know in every shot. You cannot remember, right? That's why bookkeeping is so important. So you don't need to spend much cost for software, but you need important is record immediately every day. That's the key.
Understood. Thank you so much. That was really helpful for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, any other question, guys? Please feel free to ask. Oh, yes. Shamala, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I would like to ask regarding the business, which is like, is it necessary for them, for us, like want to run business, need to have a premise, or we can remotely can apply for the loan? Like, let's say we are working from home and we run the business from home.
No need, no need. Nowadays, a lot of people are working from home. I know it's a trend. So you don't need a premises, but depends on license, especially. So I don't know, the majority of women's are they're starting from very small business, from home business. So, and even they don't have a particular license, but they have a simple SSM, like whole sole proprietor. So you don't need a business, you don't need a premises. So it's okay. But I just want to say of this third point, as you need to keep some reserve because of business, run the business, you have some unexpected things happen. Not only did this borrowing money, but also there are some accident or some mistakes. There may be have some legal issues sometimes, for example. So I basically, we as a business owner, when you start the business, you should have some stock, especially for financial stock first, right? Maybe at least 6 months your saving, 6 months your salary, the previous salary. That's just a general speaking. It depends on person, but I just want to say when you start the business, usually bigger is better. Like 1 year savings, that's better because we don't know, especially the earnings income is not so it's not so stable. So some months you have certain income, but other months you didn't earn income. So you need keep your life. Then you need the savings for, especially for first initial year and several 2 to 3 years. So at least when you start the business, usually at least you should have some savings, minimum 6 months to basically 1 year or more. That's otherwise, if emergency things happen, for example, in our business, if you have repayment schedule, you cannot escape from this repayment because every month the deadline will come to the borrower. Then you cannot skip. I'm sorry, this month I cannot repay back. We cannot allow for this kind of skip. So in this case, you need to use your savings to repay this loan. This is the rule, and also this is the financial literacy. And that's why, because of your income is unstable, that's why you need to keep this savings for in emergency. But it's not necessary premises. So is so many different type of reserve there. So you can just think about it, any financial assets, or how sometimes the borrowing. But basically this financial savings is fast and also very stable and very useful. So very powerful for financial savings.
Right. Understood. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, guys?
If
I
you
have
don't have,
I have a question to ask.
yes,
May I?
please.
Okay, so basically, thank you for the sharing regarding the financial literacy.
Thank
So
you.
there one point that caught my attention, which is the bookkeeping. So I want to ask about the bookkeeping. As you said, as the business owner, they want to increase their financial literacy level. They need to have a proper bookkeeping and the account management, right?
Yes.
I have a lot of friends that are struggling with their business. Basically, they say that they do not know how to do the proper bookkeeping. Basically, they said they have struggled to manage their account, and they asked my advice regarding on whether they should register for the financial class to gain the knowledge from the expert, or they can gain the knowledge independently from any sources like YouTube, Facebook, and so on. So I want to ask your opinion regarding on this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Previous day, I also want to. I also joined the bookkeeping class when I'm young, because I want to know. But at that time, we don't have a YouTube, and but nowadays, and of course, you can access the free contents in the YouTube. So I really recommend it. You just try the YouTube, and it's really free and very good contents nowadays. So you just learn from your home, and a lot of variety of I think contents you can get from your internet. But very sure the bookkeeping process is really helpful the business owner, especially in the early stage. Um, I think it's technical bookkeeping is not necessary because you don't need to become a accountant. If you want to be an accountant, you need to know the proper bookkeeping method, and this is a calculation. In the end, the fiscal year, you need to calculate the tax or other things. But it's not, you are not a professional accountant. So, but they teach us a lot of techniques and also the accounting rules and manners. So it will help you, and if you run the business, especially you need to talk to the banks in the near future. It is like a tips and technique and for how to efficiently to creating your asset. It needs the accounting knowledge. So the bookkeeping is the initial step of accounting knowledge. Then, so I highly recommend it to you just go through the how basic bookkeeping contents, or to join the class also fine if you have a time. Also, it needs small investment for joining classes. Joining classes, the benefit is you can have a peer colleague, and to somebody you can become some friends, some entrepreneur friends in the class. But nowadays, I think I just joined the YouTube is enough for beginning. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's answered my question. Thank you for that, for your
Thank
advice.
you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
the
hi.
wonderful question, Fidas. Yeah, we have answered. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Fumiko, just want to ask, what is the effect and happen when the borrower will default the loan? What is the action you all will take to against the borrower compare with others credit company or financing institution?
Okay. As for default, we recognize as some steps, and also some state, how can I say, the situation. The before default, I mean, default usually after 1 month, we declare as a default. Depends, but as before the default, for example, we observe some delay of the repayment. For example, 7 days after, we will issue the warning letter from our side. And after 14 days, we will issue another warning letter from our lawyers company. And then after 1 month, finally, we would usually to take a legal step. And so we recognize as a default, and depends on situation, depends on person. And so as we recognize as a default, and we usually register in the blacklist in the CTOS. Is, the CTOS is the official credit scoring company in Malaysia. And so without repayment back, you cannot withdraw this blacklist. It's effect of your future when you need the loan to access the banks, and you cannot borrow the money from that banks with the blacklist. And also we will negotiate, and if you still the customer doesn't repay after 30 days, highly probably we will go to the legal step in case so to maybe asking the lawyer and to preparing some submission to the court. It would take time and money, and it's really a ultimate actions as a legal step. But before this legal step, we usually have some negotiation and to suggest from our side and to reconstruction plan means, so it depends on observing the situation of the customer, the business situation carefully, and then once we recognize it's quite hard, but they have some plan to generate income at later stages. So we pause the repayment schedule for a while, like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Then also restart after the several times, or we reduce the amounts of the repay back, for example, 30% or 50%, then extension of the terms of the repayment schedule. We called restructuring plan. So there are several ways of restructuring plan to become more positive and to how sustainable for both sides. And so I highly recommend all the customer who have challenge of the business to repay back, and then so early to come to us and to be willing to have discussion to find out the solution for mutual consensus to restructuring way. So anyway, as your answer, the default is usually after 1 month, and we should go to the legal step and to more how the higher resort and to solving these issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, great. If there are any other question, Luan, is everything okay for you, Miss Luan? Please go ahead and ask your questions. Miss Fumiko will clarify it for you.
Sure.
Are you there? I think she's
No, I'm fine. Sorry, I'm just gonna look for that icon.
no
Okay,
problem.
no, I'm okay. Basically, I think we've been liaising quite closely this last couple of weeks. I've asked you quite a bit of questions, so I'm okay. But just out of curiosity, right? Are you guys lending from your own accord, or is this linked to the government's funding and things like that for SMEs?
Currently, we use our own funds. Basically, the funds usually comes from Japan, so we utilize these funds and to distribute the money for the borrowers. But in the future, yes, I know the governments have some prepared for SME funds. So it would be great collaboration with the Malaysian government. Yeah.
Right. Because there are also some other I'm not sure. I mean, like AXA or something. They are all offering. Yeah. So I just assumed that it was actually on the same thing. I think theirs is probably government linked or something.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I mean, just to. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Thank you for your information. Yeah, that would be a great opportunity for us.
I see. Okay. Thanks.
So I think we can skip this questionnaire. Then basically we have this Q&A also in our website. So you can please look at the basic questions as for the application process, and you can find the Q&A, this kind of information in our website too.